How's it going, guys? James here from Butler Farms on a very humid Saturday morning. You can see it's overcast outside, so the temperature is not too bad, but the humidity is about 90% out here right now. So I've got a little project going on out here in the garden. Got a lot of things to do in the garden. The problem is the garden is so wet that I just don't want to traipse all over it out here until it dries up a little. Hopefully this afternoon I can get in here and replace some gaps down here in my beans and peas. I've still got some seed left, and I always do that every year where they don't come up. I'll come back and stick a few down through there just to kind of fill in those holes, but it is really wet down through there right now. So the project I'm working on right now is something that you don't see, I don't guess, very often. It's something we do around here pretty regular, and you know, I know there's some debate about it one way or another, but I just do what I do, and it's always worked for me. Now let me turn you around here. As you can see down through here, these are my tomato and pepper plants down through there, and it kind of looks like I've been doing a treasure hunt down through here. You can see holes in my walkway between the two rows of peppers and tomatoes. Now I'm not really worried about it this time of year. They're just now starting to kind of come out. Actually, when I do a garden tour later on, I'll show you we got some blooms already popping out on that one right there. A little bit early for that. I got to prune some branches off the bottom that are touching the ground, those kind of things. So I got a lot to do down here, but there's no roots that are going to be out in here yet. And so as you can see, I've dug holes all the way down through here, one hole between each set of plants. And I actually got to take a little time off and do a little fishing with my dad and my son. 3 generations fishing together. That was pretty cool, and we try to do that several times a year. And to say the least, we had a good day. And you might be wondering, why is he talking about holes between his tomato plants and fishing? Well, here nothing goes to waste. We had, obviously it was late yesterday afternoon we got home. It was raining, so I had to clean these up at the shop. And like I said, we had a really good day, so it took me quite a while. And put the meat up last night. We provided several meals for us. But guys, nothing here goes to waste. Instead of me looking for buried treasure out here, I'm burying treasure out here, and it's in the form of free fertilizer. And I know for some of you this might sound a little gross, some that hadn't grown up around this, guys, but this is something that's been known by native people for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, that you know, the parts that you don't need can go back into the soil and feed the soil and act as a fertilizer. And it kind of goes along that same lines. You read some of these websites and stuff that you have to measure out and weigh out your compost, and you can't put this and you can't put that. Now there are some things that you're not going to put in there, like grease and oil. Some oils you actually can, but you know, people say, well, you can't compost meat, you can't compost leftovers after you know, processing animals. And I'm trying to walk pretty gingerly around this topic for some people, but that's absolutely not true. You know, when you process a batch of chickens, the feathers, if you're not going to keep the feet, leftovers from inside that you're not going to eat, all of that can be composted. And if you've got a big enough pile that gets hot enough and you bury it down inside there, guys, it'll make some of the best compost you can possibly find. Now, I don't have a pile that big, and I've never actually tried to compost fish parts, but I would assume it would work the same way as chicken and parts and chicken feathers and everything else. So that's what I've got going on down here. And what's going to happen is since it is good and wet, this was actually the perfect time, because it was easy to dig these holes. These holes are about 1.5 foot, 2 foot deep. No reason to, you know, try to dig the Middle Earth or anything like that, because, you know, the roots that are going to be looking for them for this nutrition are going to be kind of close and to the top. And I just went down through here. It's not even. I don't sit here and count, you know, the number of fish leftovers I put in there. I just grab a handful and put it in there, and yes, before you ask, I use gloves, not because I'm squeamish, but because I just don't want to smell that on my hands all day long. You know, without trying to get too close or too graphic, you can see that there are several fish heads, the skin, what's left over from the insides down through there. And you know, it's just a natural form of fertilizer, guys. You do, you know, to me it's a bigger waste. You know, I'm one of those kind of people that I want to use every part of something that was once living. You know, I'm not a tree hugger and those kind of things, but I also don't want anything to go to waste. And you know, we were blessed to have a good day fishing, and it's going to provide several meals. I don't really remember right off the top of my head how many big thick bags of fillets that made, but you know, I'm sure it made 4 or 5 meals for us. And so, you know, as part of that, I also don't want to waste the other part of that fish. And I know that's kind of you know, some people would look at that and go, man, I'm not messing with that stuff. Well, in this day and age, most people either won't eat fish that they catch themselves, and if they would, they don't know how to clean them anyway. So I'm really not talking to those people. I'm talking to the people that get out there and do and try to do for themselves and try to do a little bit better. And again, I know where this fish came from. I know what's in that water. I know how they were handled. They weren't shipped from far off East Asia somewhere. And here in Alabama, you know, we have a big catfish industry here in Alabama, farm-raised catfish. And you know, years ago they were dumping these fish in here from Asia and slapping catfish on the outside of the box, and they were no more catfish than I was. And so, you know, I just don't mess with that kind of stuff. I take care of my own needs. I take care of my own meat. And you know, I know they're clean. I know where they came from. I know who processed them and who handled them and who packaged them. And you know, within a couple of hours of leaving the lake, they were in the freezer. But at the same time, we are going to reap the benefits of this good, rich fertilizer, guys. You know, somebody said, well, asked me one time, well, doesn't that stink? Well, not really. There is, you know, for a few days, you'll be able to smell it. Now, as far as it being like where you can't even get near the garden, no. I bury it deep enough that that's not a problem. And one thing about it is, with it being wet out here, not only is it easier to dig, but when I put this moist soil back on here, we've got some warm weather. Even though it's overcast, it's going to get 80 degrees today. This will not take long at all to break down. So the stage where it's going to smell, if at all, I hardly notice it when I do this, because like I said, I bury it deep enough that you can't really smell it. But if it does, it won't last long, because you know, other times when I've done this, when it was cold outside and it took forever for them to break down, that might be a problem. But it won't be a problem this time, because they're going to break down so quickly in these conditions. Good damp ground, warm temperatures. That soil, when I dug it up, is just as warm under there as it can be. So the life that's in that soil right there, I had worms, I had different things, and no telling what you know, microscopic life I've got running around in there. They'll make quick work of that, break it down into something that those tomatoes and peppers can use, that will provide us more food. So, you know, not only do we get to eat because of the meat that came from them, but we're going to get to eat more and better and more nutritious things because of what we're using that was left over from them. So, you know, if you find yourself in that situation, use it. It just takes a little bit of work. You know, we enjoy fishing, we enjoy going. Was I tired last night when I got through with filleting all these fish? I was real tired. But I've got a teenage son, the one that went fishing with me, that helped me clean them. My wife helped me package them. So, you know, it didn't take as long, you know, as it could have. But, yeah, and digging these holes took a little bit of work, a couple of drops of sweat, but that's good for you too. But I know what the benefits are of that sweat, and I know what the benefits are of using what God has blessed us with to put back into what we're trying to do to be able to become more self-sustainable. So I'm gonna leave it there. I got plenty of other things to do before I come back down here this afternoon and hopefully be able to give you a garden tour of what's going on down here as I replace some of those bald spots, I guess you would call, back there where the beans and peas didn't come up. I'm also going to be replacing, guys, I don't have a single summer squash that came up. My winter squash down there are doing good. Summer squash, not so much. And I think it's because of those cheap big box store seeds that I always warn y'all about. But I've got plenty of them, so I'll stick some more in the ground and hopefully get 1 or 2 per hill to come up. But anyway, that's for another time, another video. Got to get out of here, get these things covered up, and go do some other things before I get back down here late this evening. Guys, I so appreciate you. We're growing. This channel is growing, and I can't tell you thank you enough. And the comments, I love them. I respond to every one of them that comes in. And just keep those coming. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Give me that thumbs up after you watch one, guys. That helps us out more than you know. But just knowing you're out there is a blessing to us, and that we can talk to you on a regular basis. And I just appreciate you more than you know. So until next time, y'all just stay with me. We got more coming. And God bless. This is James from Butler Farms, and we'll be seeing you.